Hello, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Thank all of you for coming out today. Really appreciate to see all of you here, and all those online also virtually. At this time, Ken, if you would join us with invocation and pledge.
Thank you, Larry. Would you bow with me for a moment? As we continue to celebrate women across the world this month, we ask that all women be released into their fullness. Help us to see how we can partner in dismantling the unjust systems and attitudes that contribute to inequality. Help us to believe for a tomorrow where fullness of life is a reality for all. Bless now this food before us and the preparers of it. We take it for our nourishment to strengthen us as we continue in our Rotary service. These things we ask in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Great. At this point, if any of you admitted from last week, any adjustments or any changes? If not, we'll move along. Membership birthdays. I didn't have any birthdays this week. So if I see back wrong, please let me know. And also, there's no membership anniversaries this week. At this time, Wendy's volunteered to step in for Chuck, and I'll let her drive from here. Chuck, yeah, here we go.
The girl named Chuck. Anybody have any guests they'd like to introduce except the speakers? There's somebody here. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Would you like to go with this meeting a little late?
Yes, I'm delighted to have my friend Linda Johnson be here. You know, Linda's so I can see you. And it's why we got to see you. So anyway, welcome, Linda. We love to have you.
Thank you, Sally. Welcome. Anybody over here? I think there's somebody we saw last week.
Thank you. This is still my brother's head after 10 days with his sister.
Thank you. Anybody over here? Now, do we have any happy bucks?
Well, we do have someone else.
Nobody, oh, sorry. Well, I didn't see a hand. I'm just waiting for you to
You have a French name, by the way. I like French names. Don, introduce yourself. He is a prospective new member.
Well, Don Bertram, I'm the park manager at Dunedin and Pinellas.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have you here again. And now, any happy bucks?
I have two.
Here.
Thank you. Oh, that sounds so official. First happy buck is for my basketball team, which is KU making it to the Sweet 16. Second happy buck happens to be for Kent McCrae's basketball team. Arkansas also made it to the Sweet 16. The only problem is our friendship is at risk if they face each other.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right.
Like I said last week, my wife, as most of you know, is an elementary school teacher. She was on spring break last week, which was much needed. And it's just amazing. We had a wonderful time. So I'm then waiting for summer break now so we can spend more time together because she works 10 to 12 hours a day. So it's just amazing how she does it. But I was happy to have that week with her.
It's good having
Good to share.
Anybody else? Sally?
I'm going to dig our dollar here. So I just want to say that I'm happy that Elaine was here last week. She took great photographs. We need to have somebody take photographs when our speaker is with us today, because it's great to post them on the website and all people remember the times we had listening to our speakers. I think it was all gone. So, you know, you guys have to work really hard to keep it out. With that, you stay there.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Happy bucks? Oh, I have a couple, but I have to go get my money out. I'll get my money.
Yeah, exactly.
David Kelly. I have two actually. One was we had a great time at the Blue Jays game on Sunday. All of us who went, it was with Chamber of Commerce, a lot of President of the Merchants Association. There was Rotary members there. It was a lot of fun, beautiful day, and I'm just happy to have baseball back. And it's active. When I was at the trolley office today, one was going to the Phillies, and one of the shells was coming up here. It felt like things are, it's such a beautiful day. That's it, thank you. That's it, Blair. I'll put my $2 in.
Thank you. Yeah, speaking of pictures, just as a reminder, we have started a news blog on the website. So if you want to know more, you'll see club news, and that's where we found out about our programs, our past programs, pictures, and activities that we have going on. We're trying to keep that updated. Also, to push you more to the website, I'm going to start updating the calendar as far in the future I can to let you know about the upcoming programs. You may not know what the actual program is about, but at least you'll see have a description or a title of who and what it's going to be. So as always, we're trying to get more use out of that site. And at this time, Sally, I'll turn the floor over to you to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, President Larry. Fortunately, I've got a good friend, Ricky Butler, who is here today. He's not our speaker, but he's with the sheriff's office, and he can arrange the most amazing things on short notice. One thing he did is arrange today's speaker, and that is Lieutenant Kim Kilian. This is nighttime for Lieutenant Kilian because she works the night shift, so she's usually sleeping during the day. So we're very grateful to have her here. And she has an interesting background, and I'm sure she's going to tell us some stories from that background. She was a school resource officer, a narcotics detective, a burglary detective, sergeant of the crime prevention and community policing and unit, and she still is in charge of a whole bunch of things that she's going to tell you about. You met her husband before, speaking of dogs, because her husband Mike was with us earlier in the Rotary year, last fall, at East, when it was East Manor, then this is now East Lake, with the canine unit. So it's very glad to have him, but even better to have Lieutenant Kim Kilian. So I welcome you, Kim. Thanks for being here today, and we look forward to your remarks.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you guys so much for the opportunity to speak today about the Sheriff's Office, my role at the Sheriff's Office, and my role in the community. I've been with the Sheriff's Office, or I've been in law enforcement for 23 years. And during those 23 years, I've had a lot of opportunity presented to me. I have, as Sally said, I've worked as a school resource officer, a narcotics detective, a burglary detective, and I was the sergeant of the economic crimes unit for some time. And during my career, I can honestly tell you that the time in economic crimes, which first and foremost, I fought it the hardest. I did not want to go to that unit. And if you'd asked me at the beginning of my career, what is the one thing you never want to do, I would have told you an economic crimes detective. And as odd as it sounds, it was the most rewarding job I ever had in my career so far. And the reason I tell you that is because in economic crimes, it's financial crime. So the victims that we dealt with were the most vulnerable of all. And that was why I got into law enforcement, because I wanted to help the most vulnerable victims. And I never realized that that's where they were. The victims that we dealt with in economic crimes were, they were either elderly or they suffered from mental disabilities or physical disabilities, and they had lost everything. They had lost their life savings, and it gave me the opportunity, and many times we got their money back and we were able to, apprehend the suspect that did it. So those by far were the most rewarding cases that I ever worked. Just briefly, a little more of my background. I am a mom to two boys. They are 17 and 19. Absolutely my pride and joy. They're my everything. And you all know that my husband is the canine sergeant at the Sheriff's Office. So we also have 4 dogs. So my life is very busy outside of work. And we had 5 up until a few months ago. So God rest Roscoe's soul, but he's not with us anymore. So very busy home life. When I talked to Sally about coming today, she asked me to explain what exactly is a night shift commander. What does that mean? What do you do? So I after we got off the phone, I thought, what is it that I do? How do I describe what I do every day? And to give you a little background in the sheriff's office, and it's a paramilitary organization. Obviously the sheriff's at the top, and there's some chiefs in there, and majors and captains, and then the lieutenants. And the difference between what I do and what everybody else does is that I work at night, so I'm it at night. When I say I'm it, there's 8 of us that work, but we don't all work at the same time. There's only 2 lieutenants on at a time, and from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. it's just us. So all decisions go through the lieutenants, the shift commanders. If one of us is off, then the other one has the whole county. So that puts me at supervising anywhere from 50 to 120 on a bad night, when my counterpart is off, deputies at a time. So a typical night for me, and what does that look like? And I'm going to set the stage for you and tell you a little bit of what a typical night is for a night shift commander. So again, I came on at 5 o'clock. I deal with a few administrative issues here and there, but it's probably 12:15 in the morning now. And I'm sitting at the intersection of US 19 and Alderman Road. There's a Walmart up there, if anyone's familiar with the area. And I'm talking to a deputy that asked to speak with me. I've known this deputy for many, many years. We started around the same time. And he's worked nights for probably 15 to 20 of those years. And he's gone through a bad divorce. His mother had just passed away. He was having some issues with his kids, and he just needed somebody to talk to. So we were having a conversation about everything that he's going through in his personal life right now. And as always, my cell phone rings, and it is someone I've never talked to before. He introduces himself as a sergeant with the Tampa Police Department, and he says, I need your help. Okay, what can I do to help you, sir? And he says, well, I've got 15 to 20 detectives, and we're surveilling a group of known burglars, rooftop burglars, that have gone through Tampa, all through Hillsborough, a little bit of Polk, into Pasco, and now they're heading into your county, and I need you to pick up the surveillance. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I don't have any surveillance units working tonight. I only have uniformed patrol deputies. And he says, okay, this is bad. These guys have been breaking into rooftops, and they're stealing commercial businesses, and they've been stealing. I mean, it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff. They stole an ATM machine through a roof of a bowling alley. They've done all these things. And I said, okay, so what can I do? I'm thinking to myself, what can I do to help this group? So I say, okay, well, let me see. As we stay on the phone, I'm trying to finagle how to get us on the same radio channel, because we don't have the same radio channels as Tampa Police Department. So we do that. I'm still trying to help this deputy here, who's now understanding that things are, now things are transpiring quickly. So I get the helicopter up. I request our flight assistance. And I think that our flight unit has been here to speak with you as well. It's a great resource that we have. So I get the flight unit up, and I explain to them what we have. And I said, it's a giant U-Haul truck, and it's traveling southbound on US 19. So as I'm on the cell phone trying to figure out where exactly they are right now, the Tampa sergeant says to me, oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm not from here in Pinellas County. I have no idea where I'm at. I can only tell you I'm on US 19. So I say, okay, well, give me a landmark. And he says, J.C. Penney's. And I said, okay, you're a Countryside Mall. And he says, if you say so, that's where I'm at. I said, okay. So I begin to get the flight unit now has it. And if I'm not sure if when they came here, they explained to you what's called a downlink. So from the helicopter, they have a camera with a live feed. So I can see what they're looking at. So I get the live feed up on my computer, and I'm trying to coordinate some deputies to get into the area. We don't know if they're going to actually hit a business tonight, but it looks like they're looking in that Countryside area to find one. And they do come to rest at Countryside Mall at the J.C. Penney's, and they back the U-Haul in over there. So we're kind of watching to see what they're going to do. I'm trying to get some deputies in the area, because my deputies have no idea what's going on, because again, this is Tampa that's calling these to us. So we coordinate a channel, and we get that going. I get some canines on the way, and sure enough, they take the ladder out of the back of the U-Haul. They sneak it through the parking lot. They go over the fence of an apartment complex that backs up to a business over there in Countryside. It's actually a chiropractor's office. And they put the ladder up. I'm watching this go down, and I'm thinking, I got to get on this. We got to figure this out quick because these guys are going to be mobile soon. So, as luck would have it, they, for some reason, I think they got spooked, but they actually got up on the roof as if they were going to, with a crowbar, they were going to start entry through the roof, and they decided not to. So they pack it all up, and they get back in the U-Haul, and now they're mobile. This is all happening within the matter of minutes. By the way, in the interim here, my son calls me, and he's upset because he forgot to do a homework assignment, and he's worried that his dad is going to be mad at him if he finds out. So in the middle of all this, I'm handling that. And also somebody else calls me because there was an issue at the jail, and they weren't accepting an inmate for a medical reason, and they're not sure what to do, and how do we work through this? And so I'm on the fly handling all these questions with my cell phone. So the U-Haul now goes eastbound on State Road 580 and makes a southbound turn onto 611 or McMullen Booth Road. And I have one of my canines there with me, and I said, we gotta stop this U-Haul. Like, we have attempted burglary charges, Tampa's got some stuff. I said, let's do this. So again, this is a typical night for me, the U-Haul doesn't stop. So we can't pursue the U-Haul, but we have our air unit up who can continue to follow it. So just as we practice, my guys did a great job of blocking off Courtney Campbell, so they couldn't get back eastbound to go to Tampa. So they start going southbound in the northbound lanes of the Bayside Bridge. Wow. Yeah, so this is gonna be, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be bad. So they get about halfway over the bridge and they stop. And they make a giant 3-point turn to head back northbound, but then they stop. The driver gets out and he opens up the back of the U-Haul and he starts throwing bags over the side of the Bayside Bridge. Okay. Yeah, again, this is a typical night for me. And then he jumps over the side of the bridge. So then the passenger, one of the passengers gets into the drive and they start driving the U-Haul away. So we still need to get that U-Haul, but now I got a guy in the water. I've got 5 bags of I don't know what that are floating. And the U-Haul then takes off westbound on Gulf to Bay. Gets to US 19, starts heading south. Now I can tell by the air unit giving me, and I'm watching the downlink. Oh, by the way, another son calls me at this point and tells me that one of the dogs just got sick and he's cleaning it up, and he broke up with his girlfriend today and he's in tears. So I'm like, okay, I have to call you back. I promise I'll get back to you. So the U-Haul heads southbound. It was obvious to me by their driving that they didn't know where they were, which is a perfect scenario for us on night shift, because I always tell the guys, if you can get them to run on foot, it's money for us all day because our canines will catch them. So they turn into a residential neighborhood down in Pinellas Park, and they bail on foot because they couldn't get this U-Haul down the street. So canine immediately, they were there and ended up getting 2 of the guys, but we still have the guy up in, on the north side of the Bayside, and we haven't got yet. So I finally get to meet the Tampa sergeant that I've been on the phone with this whole time, and he says, thank you so much for all of this. Is there anything that we can do? And I said, well, yeah, if you're going to stick around, we have the guy on the north end of the Bayside. He's like, absolutely. He's like, I've never had a law enforcement agency give us this much support on a case like this when we come into another county. He said, I just appreciate it. Whatever you need, we're here for you. He says, I have like 15 to 20 detectives in undercover cars with me. And I said, okay, great. Here's what we're going to do. I said, we're going to head northbound on the Bayside, and we're going to find the guy that we left up there with the bags. Now, I still have a lot of deputies up there, and K9 was looking for the guys up there, the guy that we had left up there. So the Tampa sergeant says to me, he's like, great. He's like, I can do that. We got one problem. And I said, what? And he says, I have no idea where 49th Street is. So just take 49th Street. I have no idea where 49th Street is. I said, fine. This is my car. Follow me. So I head back northbound on 49th Street to get back to the Bayside with a convoy of about 20 UC detectives with me. So it was kind of neat. So we got up there and really saturated the area. K9 burned out 3 dogs looking for him. I ended up calling out the Marine unit to find the bags and the guy who had ended up concealing himself in the mangroves. So it was a fantastic night. We got all 3 of them. We got all the returned property. And that's a great case. But that right there is a typical example of what a night is for me. Things are very fluid. They change fast. I always say it's never what the training scenario, we can do 100 training scenarios, and what I get at night is never that way. It's never, I always have some type of weird, scenario. The guy on the roof in Dunedin that was with the gun, I'm sure you guys all read about that. That was my shift. It's always just something that I would never have prepared myself for. And the unique thing about working nights is that I quickly learned when I got promoted to lieutenant and got put on night shift was there is no one to ask. You're it. So my counterpart recently, about 3 weeks ago, got put on nights from day shift, and he's a newer lieutenant, and he calls me one night and he says, how do you do this? And I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, who do you ask? I wanted to call HR to ask a question, and there's no one there. And I'm like, yeah, you're it, buddy. It's you and me. We figure this out as we go and on the fly. So it's definitely a learning curve every night, but I can honestly tell you I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's really thrown me to the fire fast, and you learn very quickly what your resources are, how to use them, and that all decisions are yours at night. So if it's a mistake, I own it, and very proudly, I own every one of them. It's how I've learned. It's how I've become better at what I do. But ultimately, to answer your question, Sally, what do I do at night? I would tell you that I'm a mental health counselor. I'm a liaison to other agencies. I'm a disciplinarian at times. And but most of all, I'm here to serve the community and the deputies. So that's a night shift commander's role. And in closing, I want to say thank you to this group very, very much for your support of law enforcement. As we go through our careers as cops, it's natural to become pessimistic because we deal with the worst of the worst. But things like this make it so refreshing for us. And if you see a deputy, somebody was talking about a Blue Jays game, if you see a deputy standing out there on a traffic post or, inside the stadium working a post in there, it's the friendly wave, the smile, the thank you for your service. It's what makes us, it's what we work for. It's what makes us happy. It's everything to us. So it's something very simple, but it means the world. So I just want to say thank you to you all for what you do for us as well. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is fentanyl an issue, especially with narcotics?
So it has been, we have definitely seen an increase in fentanyl cases over the past few years. Fentanyl is extremely dangerous. We have a lot of protocol that when dealing with any type of narcotics now, because the exposure, a very, very small exposure can be really deadly for a deputy. So I mean, I've been present with a deputy that was searching a room and got exposed and went down like this. So we have Narcan with us. We have, everyone keeps 2 with them at all times, and we will administer it. We administer it a lot of times, obviously, on the people that we encounter, but we also administer it on deputies as well for that. So it has been increasingly more of a problem for us over the past few years. So, yes?
What was the bag?
Good question. This is the most bizarre thing. Inside these giant bags were more bags. It was just bags and bags of bags. So, odd, right? I think we got them before they actually were going to fill the bags, but yes, that was a great question. Yes.
As a former school principal, I'm interested in your role as a school resource officer. I should mention on this material. The worst thing I ever had to deal with bomb threats. Actually, more than fires. Concerned about the number of school shootings. I wonder, are they prevented in talk to us about what your training is for that?
Oh, sure.
And just anything you want around that.
Yeah, it's a very concerning issue. We do a lot of training. So we started out with it's like a series. So the first year we did a 12-hour training on active shooter in the schools. The second year it was an 8-hour, and we followed up this year with another 8 hours. So we train every year on that. Obviously on nights it's not as much of a concern because the schools are closed. As far as is it preventable, I think there are signs. I mean, that was my experience there. There are kids that, we see the signs in them, and it's getting them early and trying to intervene earlier. We have come up with new programs. One of them is called the P3 tip. It's a program that kids can text in to a hotline, and there's a live operator 24/7. And if they see things that are alarming or that they just don't want to be the whistleblower on something, they can text in. And believe it or not, we deal with those a lot on night shift, because it's after hours that they go home and they become concerned and they will text in. We will go out, it doesn't matter what time of the night it is, and we will follow up with those tips. And I will tell you, I think it works. That, and there's another program called Fortify Florida, which is the same thing, where these kids can text into different avenues, and we will go out immediately and follow up on it. And I can tell you that I think that has prevented some of this from happening, because kids are worried. I mean, they know, they talk about this in school, and they, if there's something that they think isn't right, or they heard somebody say something, they'll act on it immediately. As with anytime you're dealing with kids, though, sometimes we'll have the issue of there's an exam the next day, or some standardized testing that they don't want to participate in. So then we'll start to get that. It's kind of like the bomb threats. They don't want to do whatever activity is that they're forced to do, so they'll call it a bomb threat. That's going to happen. It always will. But I think that we are more prepared now than ever, based on the events throughout the country. That we're. I mean, you can only train so much to get ready for that real thing. I mean, and unfortunately, they happen. But it's looking for the red flags, I think, in the kids. Yes.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Is there any connection there with what you do at the sheriff's ranch, or would you just at sheriff's ranch at Safety Harbor?
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about that?
I will direct that one to Ricky Butler, because he would be better to answer what the Sheriff's Youth Branch does. I don't have any involvement with them, so.
Do I really need this? I'm loud enough.
It's not
Okay, perfect. I feel like I'm doing like a Price is Right showcase showdown with this. So the Florida Sheriff's Youth Branch is actually a separate nonprofit organization. So we of course support them, but they have different ranches throughout the state, and they have different things they do. Our ranch in Safety Harbor specifically, they actually house siblings that are in the foster care system, so they can stay together. So that's what they do. That would be a great topic, actually, Sally, for a speaker. I know some people over there if you'd like, but they're totally separate from us in the Sheriff's Office.
Just so you know, Ricky was not expected to speak.
Good job, Ricky.
He came in dark.
Yes.
Yes, also, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So appreciate everything you do.
I appreciate that.
And the second question that I would have is, Florida is number 3 in human trafficking. And I know that a lot of great strides have been made to abort or capture and also recover victims. But could you talk a little bit about what actually goes into it, what you've done, what the recovery is, and how it goes about? Thank you.
So human trafficking, and again, I think it's something that's been around for a very long time. And those are things on a patrol level that we see, and those are, again, it's like school shootings, they're red flags. And I actually have a deputy that works on my shift who used to work in a human trafficking unit, and she will pick up on certain things that she's been able to mentor other deputies with. And those are, the problem with those is getting those victims to cooperate and recognizing that they're a victim. That's been the biggest issue, in getting them to talk. And once they do, it's sort of those cases sort of explode from there, because there's so many elements to them. But that's one of those things. And again, I have to relate it back to school shootings. It's locating seeing the red flags and getting that victim to talk. That's the hardest part of those investigations, because it's a way of life for them. And sometimes it's all they know. They've grown up in those circumstances. And so, I mean, I can think of one, it's still an open case, but they're unfortunate. And those are the ones that tend to tug at my heartstrings a little bit too, because sometimes, as weird as it sounds, is they don't realize how badly they're being victimized. So you have to kind of build that rapport with the victim in order to get them to cooperate. But we have detectives that are they're trained, and they do very, very well at those types of things. And then it's helping really helping them from there, and peeling back the layers and layers in those investigations. It's a lot.
And I think sometimes isn't it true that they do kind of a look at places where they're doing it and who is the one who is actually.
Right, the,
in
like,
and so on. I mean,
sort of the
sheriff
top
is
dog,
really
right.
committed to that.
Absolutely. And there, like I said, there's layers of those organizations. And when we go on calls for service is when you see something here is not adding up. There's signs inside of a house or an apartment or a mobile home, and you're like, wait a minute, there's something bigger here than what this is. So that's when we kind of call in, and it's usually a female deputy that will go out there because we can build a rapport and they will trust us to know that they can talk, they can tell us what's going on. And there's no repercussions criminally for them, obviously, but it's sometimes I find it's difficult to get there. It's not something that happens like this. It takes hours and hours of talking, and sometimes, things will come out later on that will help the case. So I hope that helps answer that one a little bit. Those are complex investigations for sure. So, yes, ma'am.
How's your census for deputies? It must be very difficult, especially over the summer when there was so much pressure and wrongdoing of the police and so little.
It is. There is a lot, and it's I'm sure you guys understand. Sometimes it's one bad apple can, and it's been hard to keep sometimes morale up for them because they get a lot of negative feedback. That's why I say sometimes it's just a smile or a thank you that means the world, because it has been hard to operate under those, and we've lost a lot of deputies because of it. To be honest with you, it's hard. It's hard some days to come to work and feel like the world's against you, and you're just trying to do the right thing. Like, I come to work every day with the best of intentions to help the victim. That's what I signed up for. I signed up to be the one to go in during the school shooting. That's what we do. And most everyone, I can tell you that 99% of the people that I work with have nothing but the best of intentions, but it has this climate, it makes it hard. It makes it hard to find deputies or to find people to come to do this job, and unfortunately, I shouldn't say that. Fortunately, my kids both have interest in doing this, and they understand because they hear it from both of us of this is what we deal with every day. It's hard. There's days that keep government polyester on and drive that car every night. There's nights that you're just like, man, this is tough. But especially on nights, the camaraderie between the deputies and the supervisors. And I said this in that article. I'm like, it's like no other. Night shift deputies are a breed of their own, which I learned coming back to nights after 20 years. And I can tell you this: there's nobody I'd rather go through a door with at 3 o'clock in the morning when I don't know what's on the other side, but the guys that I work with. I mean, we are a family of our own. So it's unique. My job is definitely unique. So.
Jen, there's a number of people in here that have various businesses and entities. What is the best way for them to connect with the sheriff's office? Through their community servicing? Yes. I mean, I know you call it right up the street.
Right. I work out at the North District Station right up here in Dunedin. And we have a great community policing unit, and that is there's lots of programs the sheriff's office offers. And I think somebody said earlier, we could do 52 weeks of what the sheriff's office has to offer, but one of them is our Business Watch program. So that's a great question, actually, a night shift question. So at night, when the weather's bad, if it's really foggy or if there's heavy rain, we still need to get out there and do our job. We need to be proactive in the community. Calls for service that generally aren't as high during that time, but I have the deputies get out and walk business complexes. So, and they check doors of businesses because a lot of times we forget, or maybe somebody was broken into overnight. I don't know, but we get out on foot and check those businesses. And I can't tell you how many times, at least 10 doors a night are open for businesses. So we'll make contact with those business owners and say, hey, if you guys want to come out, do you want us to secure it for you? And if they have a Business Watch decal or we have them registered in the computer, we know who to contact. It makes it so much easier for us to know who's responsible for the business. And most of the time people are very appreciative. because it was an employee who forgot to lock up, and it makes the business vulnerable for break-ins. But also, in addition to that, community policing our CPOs are awesome. That's their job. They should be out in the community, making contact with the businesses and asking you guys, what do you need from us? What can we do to help you? What are the things that you guys are seeing? Occasionally we'll have some problems in downtown, especially during these times of years because the volume, the foot traffic is so high. So we'll see, occasionally some vandalisms or thefts or things like that will be on the rise. So we just need to know deputies are out there in the community, but community policing is great, a great resource, and so is crime prevention. We have several deputies that work there. That can help with, like I said, the Business Watch program and some other things that we have available to keep the businesses safe. So, anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you very much. Like I mentioned, we'll present the book to Dunedin Elementary School in your name. And next week, I was supposed to think she has it. But she hasn't yet? Just when you thought she was going to get away with something. I'm going to make you work. Come back up here.
Oh, thank you so much. What a great
We appreciate it.
program.
Let's get out of your way. Let's
Okay.
Thank you. Well, at this point, next week, our district governor will be visiting us. Tell us what's going on in our district. So I understand it is a great presentation. It's a lot of fun. I'm not going to say her name. Jocelyn.
Thank you, perfect.
I'm from the South. I keep trying to make it two names, and Sally's taking me for a ride every time. That's not her name. To me, it's like Mary Beth, Mary Jo, whatever. It's just like, okay. I can't help it. She has two first names for first name. But she's visiting us next week. What I want to do is cover one quick thing on protocols when she's here next week. She's very informal. But out of respect, I'll introduce our Allie, our assistant governor. She'll be here to do her introduction for her. But when the governor stands up to walk the podium, we all expect you to stand. When she reaches the podium, she'll let the other one to sit down, but that'll be it for formalities, because after that, she's done with it. She'll probably fuss at me for that anyway. But she'll be here next week, so be prepared. Talk to our other membership that she's going to be here. Please introduce them so we can have a great representation of our club next week. I don't care if you're here in person or virtually, just please make sure you're here to represent your club, to show our great standout for us. Now, we're starting to wind down. Grant request. We're reaching the 31st is the last day, so any nonprofits out there that need assistance with funding, please send them to our website to print out the application, fill it out. It's only one page. It is not a killer. You're not doing 15, 20 pages like some grants. It's just one page. It'll only take 5 or 10 minutes. So please go out there, as I say, push the product. Reverend Dave, see how that got changed. Invocation.
Yep. Loves and volunteers provide invitations. I've got a sign-up sheet there. Wendy's waiting around for you. I need somebody in 2 weeks, and then dates in May and June.
Thank you.
I got my resume.
Oh, awesome. They wanted to do it. That's great. But 2 weeks ago.
Okay, for membership, I will make you all aware you'll be receiving an email from me this week, probably late this afternoon, to make you aware of new membership that's coming into our club for your consideration. Our intention is to send it out to you today for your review, and our intention, if there's no kickback, which I'm not expecting any, we'll do the club vote next Tuesday when the district governor's here. Nomination committee. I just want to put this out there for those of you who may not be aware. We are looking for a treasurer and a secretary for the upcoming fiscal year. So if you have any interest, please reach out to me, Tom, any of us, David Kelly. We'd be more than happy to talk to you about it.
Anybody not raising their hand is a candidate.
I've already got them recorded. They're covered. All right. What I'd like to do here is all our committee chairs. I'd like to get an email from you next couple of days. about all the major projects that you have done or you worked on this year and last year. It hasn't got to be a long list. There's two things, main things I want to show. I'm supposed to present this to our governor this week to give her an idea of what our club has been up to, and what we've accomplished, what we've done, where we're going. But also on April 10th, they're calling it the district conference party. And the Pinellas, this is our club today for our Pinellas Club to shine. I forgot which park it's in, but what it is, we're going to have a table, possibly a tent. And what's going to be is going to have another thing on the table displaying all the things we've done that we've accomplished over the past. And there's this year, this past year, maybe the year before. We're looking at this and want to show off to the other clubs in our district of what we've done, especially here in Dunedin, is what they're looking for. I don't know if there's something new they're starting, but the whole point is to advertise what all the accomplishments the clubs, Rotary clubs have done to their communities, and also international projects, other things they've supported. That they're looking at.
Pictures as well?
Pictures, anything we can put together. For example, the Peace Pole is an excellent project. That young lady we spoke about with the doctor was here 2 weeks ago, I believe. Things like that. The Guatemala project, for example, is another big win. But that's more things. It was amazing. Just we had a doctor without borders speak here 2 or 3 years ago. That was her or not. He kept talking about the buildings that they were in, the portable ultrasound device they had, and they had this other equipment and this other equipment. And I was going like, wow, this lady's really blowing her horn. But what she was telling us was, she got to the end of her speech, when she talked to us, Rotary International bought or paid for all that equipment and the buildings that they were using to support that community, that village there in the Kenya and that remote area they were in. It just was a sign of how bad. I was still relatively new to Rotary at that time. And it was just amazing at what Rotary had done for that particular area in Kenya. It was just amazing. They even paid for a doctor or a young man to go to medical school as long as he could guarantee to come back to that area, which he did, for all the medical services. So it was a big win for everyone. But does anyone have any other questions, any announcements?
My announcement is, if you brought cereal for Dunedin Cares, please put it over there in that corner. If you did put it in the basket earlier, don't put it over there because that's the church's fundraiser. I'm going to deliver. Just make sure you move it over there if you did, and then
Can we just move everything over there?
no, I'm not honest. But I'm taking them to the library and dropping it drop off there, drop by Phyllis does it. Thank you all very much for participating. You have, because we do our quarterly Dunedin Care. Thanks.
Was this the last day? This is it, wasn't it?
Pardon?
Was this the only day for cereal?
This is it.
All right, thank you. All right, this was it, folks. That was the last call.
Or go to the library and drop it off.
All right. I'd like for, if the directors, our board of directors has a few minutes, I'd like to quick piano stand up just for a few minutes at the end of this, if you have the time. If not, I have an email in your inbox for you to read this afternoon. I need your response on. So at that point, we'll do our four-way test. If everyone please stand. Four-way test. First.
Is the truth.
Second.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Third.
To build goodwill and better friendships.
And fourth.
Be beneficial to all concerned.
Thank you everyone for coming out today. We are adjourned.
Yeah.